Our intrepid Mr. Kim, it is Garrett. Wang, Garrett.
I left more people than this in bed.
How many of you saw Ethan last night at the... Where did you, Ethan, where did you develop that wry sense of humor, that filthy sense of humor that you have?
I got it from my mother. I don't know.
Oh, Mama.
All right, so forgive me on the timeline. When did Voyager start filming? Not when it first aired.
I think it was 1994.
94. Tell me, I'm sure you've probably said this 100 times before, but I'd love to hear about each of you, your experience getting cast. That's a somewhat Spartan process. It's different for everybody, but what we start with
Go, Tim.
It was for myself. It was. The goal at the time of my agency and myself was try to get on a show that was actually going to stay on the air for more than a half a season or so. And when this opportunity came around, which was over a course of 7 years, I read for the show several times for over 3 or 4 years for different roles, guest star roles. Finally booked a few of them, and so we had a working relationship with the producer, Rick Berman. By the time Voyager came around, he contacted my agency and said, well, can you come in and read for this role? So I thought, oh, that might be very cool, since we already have a working relationship on the show. So it worked out really good. Coming in to do this, the actual experience was very, very long days, 16-hour days on average, and a lot of dialogue, which was very specific and it was changing all the time. We did not have a captain. At the time I was booked on the show, actually cast on it, we were shooting test scenes with different actresses for the captain's role, and they were having a tough time nailing down somebody to play that role that they were going to be happy with.
So was it Genevieve at that point?
Genevieve Bujold, and there was another actress out of New York that they brought in as well. We shot a couple of scenes with Genevieve, a couple of scenes with this other actress. They weren't happy. They brought Kate in very early, and then they brought these other actresses in, and then they brought Kate back. So she was the last one to test, and we did the same scene over and over again. And she did it perfectly. I mean, what I thought was an ideal choice for that character. These guys, did you ever hear her mess up her lines? I mean, she never messed up her lines. I don't even know how you do that. I mean, even if you have them memorized, you might trip over them once in a while. But she was a soap star. She was very, very good at getting all the dialogue together, unlike us. But it was remarkable. It really was. It was a heck of a 7-year run, I got to tell you.
That's a long answer.
And a good one.
Not going to be as long as yours.
Ethan, how about you?
Yeah, you're right. That's a long-ass story, man.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
I had an intermission in there somewhere, but that's okay.
Isn't casting fairly traumatic? I mean, it seems like it would be. It could be.
Casting is traumatic because you're always risking rejection, and you've got an actor always has to. If you go in and you do your best and you get rejected, and you go, well, I did my best, and they went with a different color. But it's like if you jump off the diving board and you kind of screw it up, then you feel like, I had one shot and I blew it. So it's always a little bit of pressure, yeah. And I just was asked. I was living in New York, and they just asked me to come in and read for Neelix, and I didn't know anything about it.
Did the casting producer know you, or?
Bonnie Finnegan was the casting lady, and she knew me from New York theater, so that's why she had me in. And I read, and that was it, and it went on tape, and they mailed the tape out to California.
How many guys read for the role?
I heard they saw like most every character actor in New York and LA. I was at the very end.
Quantify that. How many people
Like
could
probably 600 people.
600 people. Wowzers.
So I was at the very end of the line, and I think they were exhausted. And I was... I mean, I just...
Fine, you'll do.
And then they liked the tape, and then they flew me out, and I went to read for this big room filled with network executives, UPN executives, and the executives of Star Trek.
That's intimidating.
There was like 40 people in the room.
That's awful.
And but I knew the scene real well, and I just wanted, I had a free trip to California, so for me it was fine. but I remember during the audition, Rick Colby. You remember that name, Rick Colby? He directed the pilot, and he directed quite a few shows in the first couple of seasons. Wonderful guy, and he was in the back row. And during my audition, he kept smiling. So I did the whole thing for him. And seeing that smile was, great affirmation. And then I finished, but I didn't hear for a month and a half whether I got it. But I remember where I was when I heard I was at a phone booth in Washington Square Park in Greenwich Village, and I called my manager. And I said, have you heard anything from Star Trek? And he said, no, we haven't heard anything yet. I wouldn't, worry about it anymore. And he said, wait a minute, he says, I have a call. And he put me on hold. This is before cell phones. I was in a He said, that was Paramount, you just got the job.
Good timing.
Nice.
For me, when you go audition for a role in Hollywood, for a series regular role for a TV show, in the casting director's office, there are headshots of each actor that has been cast already when they've made the decision. So I had the most auditions of everybody because I had no resume. So I had to go in there a total of 6 times. And each time I went in to the audition, there'd be another photo that's already cast. So when my first audition, before my very first time I walk in, there were already 2 photos on the wall. It was Roxanne Dawson, so Torres was on the wall, and Tuvok, Tim Russ was on the wall. So that always a bridesmaid, never the bride, it changed for you right there, buddy. Tuvok and Torres are on the wall, and as I kept coming back, more photos. And it was the most difficult because I was a novice actor. I didn't have a huge resume, and I walked in, and the casting director, the LA casting director, was Nat Dutton. Nat Dutton is, just to put it in a few words, is a very obsessive-compulsive person. She had an ashtray on her desk that was the size of a frisbee with probably about 400 cigarette butts in there. It was like a mountain of cigarette butts. When I walked in, she was like, lights another one up, right? So I start the reading with her, and she goes, stop. What is it with you actors? And I'm looking at her like, what the heck did I do? She goes, are you prepared? Did you memorize your lines? I said, this is my first reading with you. During the first reading, most actors are still on book. They're not memorized. They're reading the side. They're reading the script. And then after that, if it's a callback, then we memorize our lines. And then she starts to give me this whole story about Andy Garcia. She says, do you know who Andy Garcia is? I go, yes. Okay, because I cast the first movie that he ever starred in. It was called 8 Million Ways to Die. I said, I'm familiar with that movie. He played a Colombian drug lord. She goes, that's correct. And when he came into his first audition, do you think he was unprepared like you? I said, no, that's right. He was prepared. He had memorized everything. And that's what makes him a star and you not. Now at this point, I'm out because I've never been verbally abused by a casting director.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. So she says, I said, what do you want me to do, ma'am? She says, get up, get out of my office, take those sides, learn it, come back in 15 minutes and do it again. So I'm like, oh great. So I walk out into the main office, her casting assistant is sitting there, Libby. And Libby goes, what happened? I said, she hates me. She hates me. She just yelled at me. She told me I'm not Andy Garcia and he's a star and I'm not. And now she told me to go out and look at the sides and come back in. She goes, oh wait, she told you to what? Go out and come back and, oh, that means she loves you. How's that possible? No, she was mean. In fact, I'm just discombobulated that I'd like to come back again another day. So can you ask her to reschedule me? Libby goes, you want me to do what? And obviously Nan an iron fist. She had an iron fist rule as a casting director, so she
literally had an iron fist.
An iron fist.
Removed 20 years ago.
So she didn't want to ask Nan this, and so I said, no, seriously, will you please go ask her? She goes, I can't. I said, please, Libby, just ask her. What's the worst she's going to say? And she goes, okay, if I'm going to ask you this, I need you to do one thing. I need you to leave the casting office, go into the alley, back on the side. There's a trash dumpster there. Hide behind the dumpster. And then look at your sides, look at your lines and memorize them just in case she says no and you have to do it now. I said, you want me to hide behind a trash dumpster? Just do it. I said, okay. So I go in the alley, and I got my stuff, and I'm standing just right here, just reading, looking around, hoping Nan doesn't come out, hitting me in the head. 10 minutes later, Libby comes around and goes, guess what? I go, what? She's gonna reschedule you! I'm like, really? Like, yes! So I was so excited, I'm like, yay! Audition, audition after audition. Finally, the last audition was, I had to do the scene where Kim and Torres are in the little fire well, the fire escape from the pilot episode. We've both got the disease going on. And I'm supposed to be, my lines are, it's my first mission, 70,000 light years away, and I'm gonna die. Those are my lines. So I have to show this grief and this pain and suffering. So I'm in the 5th audition, and I'm being coached by Nan Dutton, the casting director. And I do it, and she goes, oh, you actors make me mad. And I said, what did I do now? She goes, do you know how to experience pain? Do you know how to experience pain? Do you know what pain is? I go, yes, I do. No, you don't. Come over here. I walk over there. She goes, lift up your sleeve. Lift up my sleeve. She grabs my arm with her 2 hands and does like an Indian burn thing. Really hard. And she goes, does that hurt? I said, yes. Do your scene now. So I can't believe I'm trapped 70,000 light years away and I'm gonna die. Now that's pain.
But my answer was wrong. But my answer was wrong. That's a good story. You know what? That's a good story. But next time you should put some dragons in it.
That story was interesting because while he told it, I was able to earn a law degree. My one casting director story, and this is a true story. My agent called me and said, you have to go see this woman down at Warner Brothers. They're making a movie, and the audition is for a character who is described as the angriest man in the world. So I went down and I auditioned for the lady, and I finished, and she said, can we do it again? A little less angry? Honest to God. I thought, what, am I the angriest man in the universe? Anyway. It was fun to do it. I almost didn't do the show when I found out Tim was on it, but I finally accepted it.
Tim, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the whole Vulcan mentality, and also a little bit about Leonard Nimoy. What, if any, contact you had with him prior to doing your Vulcan character, your take on being a Vulcan, how you felt you might honor sort of what had come before in terms of the way Vulcans have been portrayed, and how you were going to put your own take on the character.
Well, I actually had the experience when I was in college to work with Leonard Nimoy. He came down to the university that I was studying theater at to do a show down there with us, and so I had a chance to work with him. This was years before I even got to Los Angeles, and I had a chance to work with him. Wonderful man. I've only spoken to him a few times after that. Even after being cast on the show, I only ran into him a few times. When I was in college, we only had, well, we walked uphill both ways to school. We only had 3 channels. There was no cable, there was no internet, there were no VHS, there was no nothing. It was 3 channels. They only played 3 series. It was always I Love Lucy in syndication, Gilligan's Island, and Star Trek. And for the most part, you know, we saw the show about 1 million times. So I could quote every line in all those shows, and so I was very familiar with this character. When I was able to read for this role, I knew that I had to have a template for this character because it's already been established. It's not like something that's like Neelix's characters had never been established, so Ethan could come up with whatever he wanted to come up with for that. So I had to make sure that, given the fact that you all will be watching, I want to make sure I got that right. And the walk and talk was right, and his attitude and his affect. So I just used Leonard Nimoy's character, and a few others in the features and things, does a template to base his character on. And of course, some people have said that, yeah, there's not much of a stretch between me and this character, just in the way that my personality might be. There are a few things.
You're Vulcan.
There are a few things that are similar. A few things that are similar that I agree with him on. I wish I had his patience, especially on the 405 freeway. But anyway, so I did use that as a template for the character, and it was nice to be able to work with the writers in the process to bring out the nuances of his unique character. He's 100% Vulcan. He's already has a wife. He has children. And we were able to work some of those kinds of details into the story. So it was important to me to get them right. Let's put it that way, because I didn't want to go. First of all, I want to keep my job, and second of all, I wanted the fans to be happy with the portrayal.
Yeah, we liked the dynamic of the fact that he had a family. Right?
That's it. It's different. It changed it. It changed it.
That was a great job. Ethan, a little bit about Neelix's character arc. I mean, obviously, to maybe a minor degree, maybe he was supposed to be a little bit of comic relief, but also there was a fairly serious arc of the relationship with Kes and how that kind of changed her character, and then the loss of Kes profoundly changed the character. So just a little talk about the growth of the character arc through the period where Kes was there and then when she finally left.
Boy, well, you know, you don't even really notice the arc until after the series is completed, and then you look back and you see, oh, that's what happened. But you know, I don't know. I just did what they gave, the lines they gave me, and tried to say them without forgetting them. And
well, you know, you grow as an actor. You grow. You grow close with Jennifer.
Yeah, but I never knew what the relationship was with Jennifer. Honest to God. I mean, we had a fairly romantic kiss at one point, but then they implied that it was platonic. And I don't think they honored the relationship. I remember in the third season, after she had done a show where she was possessed by the warlord or something, and she...
Oh, Warlord.
Right. I think it was episode 47. And she started to not like Neelix while she was in this possessed state. And then they actually filmed a scene between me and her in the engineering lab where we kind of had closure for our relationship. And I said, you know, it's time for us to, you know, break up, and she agreed and everything. It was a really sweet scene, but they never aired it. So to me, that was like dropping the ball on that. So I felt like the character was somewhat cheated by that. But they were still paying me, so I didn't make a big stink.
but in all fairness, first of all, I think that they wanted to keep the nature of the relationship somewhat ambiguous.
Yeah.
I think that was a dramatic choice. And then having the relationship kind of fall apart before she went away also created another dramatic opportunity for the relationship.
It was part of a number of things they gave the Neelix character to give him depth and pain and deficiencies and stuff that he had to overcome. So when they did do a show with Neelix, like Mortal Coil or Chitrell or something like that, he really had very intense obstacles to overcome, and it gave him strength and he grew. And I think he had the best ending of anybody on the show when he got to have a family and a child and everything, because there really was no room for him back on Earth, no reason for him to go back there. But you know, he was a fun character to play. He was very emotional. He was annoying. He was very warm. He had a lot of very human qualities that I was able to do because I wasn't in the military. And if you do see the few, not that military people are not, but there's a certain rigidity to the way they portray them on Star Trek. I felt that, you know, I didn't have those constrictions. And I didn't know what an alien was. I didn't know what an alien, I tried to do alien things and they kept saying, no, the guy he's just a guy. You know, so I said, what does he put rubber on in the morning? You know, they dissuaded me from doing some alien things that I chose to do. So then I just played him like me with rubber on. What the hell?
And also, of course, everyone always loves a chef.
Chef is a yeah, not a lot of drama in the kitchen, but you know, so I was glad I wasn't used that much because that makeup was real hell. you know, it's like having a mattress glued to your head.
Yeah, yours was the worst makeup on the show, right?
It was pretty heavy.
It was pretty heavy, and I had fake contacts.
Tim had to go through a little bit, but not like you.
I think my makeup guy was actually trained by the SS. I learned that later on.
Let's talk.
Can I just share this one story about Ethan? Actually, this is a lesson in basically perspective. There was one day we were filming on location in Bronson Caves. It was very hot, and all the actors that were portraying human characters were complaining about the heat. So we were sitting there, and we were like, oh, please bring us some water. Oh my gosh, can we have an umbrella? Yeah, it's really hot. And we were all complaining. This went on, and it was everybody, every human character there. Paris, Kim, Chakotay, you name it. And Ethan was there too. Ethan was out there, and after about 45 minutes of us complaining, he lost it. He goes, shut up! Shut up! All of you, shut up! You think it's hot? None of you is wearing a mattress on top of your head! And when he gets upset, literally, even whether he's doing lines in the show or in real life getting upset, he has fake teeth in. His teeth flew out of his mouth while telling us this. And that taught us perspective. I think you're hot, but someone else is hotter, right? Remember that? Yeah, it was wonderful.
Garrett, I want to talk with you a little bit about Kim. The character was a little problematic. I don't think that...
Well, he was the punching bag of Voyager. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I mean, I think it's really more like they hadn't done enough of defining exactly what his character arc was going to be.
Yeah. I think part of the problem with character development in Voyager is that it is the largest ensemble cast of all the Star Trek casts. We have 9, right? Next Gen, for the most part, stayed around 6, Deep Space, 7, but 9 is so difficult to give everyone adequate screen time and develop those characters. So, I mean, when we had episodes that revolved around our character specifically, for Kim, Timeless, The Shoot, those were chances for our character to, you know, shine, and we were able to do stuff. But for the most part, Kim is standing on the bridge, spouting exposition. Shields down to 30%, Captain. We have a M-class planet at heading, blah, 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 you know.
I just don't find that there was enough transformation to the character over the course of the series, which I think what you as an actor are looking for, that long arc possibility.
Well, there is, you do see from, you know, episode 1 to the end, you do see a transformation in terms that Kim does become much more confident. I mean, if you look at the very beginning, he's so unsure of himself, he really is. And as it goes on, it's a subtle change, but it is definitely, there is some change there, you know. More maturity, you know. But, you know, I was the first character to die on Voyager. Season 1, Emanations, where Kim goes down to that alien planet and he has to die in order to get back to Voyager. And I remember as an actor reading that script, they say, and then Kim gets into the coffin and the things go into his neck, and then in bold capital letters, Kim dies. I go, ah! Season 1, I have a 5-year contract, right? Wait. So I was like, Kim has more lines. Kim has more lines. You're a young actor. Let me tell you, you want to hold on to that job if you're a young actor on a new show. When we lost Jean-Pierre Bujold, the first captain, and they had to look for another captain, the warning was this: hey, for those of you who are already cast as a human male, if we can't find a female Janeway, we're going to cast it as a man, and one of you guys are going to get recast as a female character to keep the gender balance, so one of you will lose your job. That was the rumor. And I thought, hey, 6 auditions, shortest resume, it's the young guy who's gonna go, all right? The newbie. At that point, I thought, all right, Dustin Hoffman played Tootsie, he can play female, I can play female. I'll be Henrietta King.
I also suggested to Rick Berman that if they weren't gonna lose anybody, I suggested it be you. And I feel bad about that.
On the other hand, I really used to love the adventures when you and Robbie would go through your holodeck adventures. I thought
Captain Proton?
They were fantastic. So that was some great stuff you did.
I never got a chance to be in Captain Proton.
You didn't?
Oh man, it was messed up. I was always on the bridge going, Captain, there's something on the screen, and
oh, now you know how I feel.
they never put
so
me in
great,
there.
yeah.
Oh, it was such a
Kate
fun
was a real
piece.
cut up on that. All right, just 2 more things. We're going to go to the audience, but first of all, What was the impact when Jerry came on the show? I mean, 7 of 9, such an exotic, different kind of a character, changes the dynamic of the show. Each of you, just say a little something about that. How did it feel? Jerry is a fantastic lady, but what was it like when she kind of came in and upset the corporate culture of the situation?
Well, I had more days off. Not as many work days, because she had a lot of heavy storylines. They had to catch up, get her character to catch up with everything. So I had a few more days off. To me, it was fine. If I was in the story heavy or in the story light, it didn't matter. I had a few scenes with her now and then. She came on, she knew her lines, and got the job done. And that's really, to me, as part of an ensemble cast, is very important. She wasn't a slacker. She was very professional. She got the work done.
She was great. I missed losing Jennifer, but Jennifer was such an amazing actor in her ability to be in the moment. She was very unguarded and very unedited and very spontaneous, and she upped your game when you acted with her. But Jerry was equally proficient at the craft, and it was a great asset to the show, and I love her as a person. She's a wonderful, warm, gracious lady.
When Jerry came in, Jerry and I are born in the same year, so I felt like, oh my gosh, birds of a feather. There's someone who I totally get along with. I get her, and we joked around a lot. We bonded very quickly. We used to play this game where we try to catch each other unawares. We'd be hiding behind a stage door, and as the other person walked past, we'd just slap the crap out of their butt. Just really hard, swat on the bum. And it's like she got me so many times where she knocked the living bejesus out of me. And she's strong, she's really strong, and she can eat a lot of food too. Anyway, so, why did I say that? I don't know. Okay, so, every time I tried to get her, she like had eyes in the back of her head. I'm gonna get up, Cameron. Okay, you got me, Cameron? Okay, good. So she would walk past, and I would be hiding right here, and as she walked, she'd take her script and just block her butt like that. She wouldn't even look at me. She just knew I was there. She would just block me. So I had a lot of fun with her.
She was great. She had more curves than the Hollywood freeway.
All right, and before we go to questions, last thing for me is your fantastic captain, Janeway. Let's begin, Garrett, by your impression of Kate that we all know and love so much. So here we go.
Hello, I'm Captain Catherine Janeway, the USS Starship Voyager.
The first time I did that in front of Kate, we were at the Museum of Television and Radio, and someone said, oh, can you do your Janeway impersonation? I went, no. Kate,
No, I had to do my impersonation.
I started doing it. She goes,
I don't talk like that. I go, yes, you do. No, I don't.
What was it like working with a consummate pro like Kate?
It's intimidating. She always knew her line. She said, you're right. She never messed up her line once that I can remember.
Does not mess up lines.
Nope.
It's inhuman, okay?
Nope. She might be an android.
Her opposite was Robert Beltran.
Yeah.
He couldn't even remember his name. It's honestly not true. We had a script supervisor on the show named Cosmo, and when you forgot a line during filming, you go, "Cos, what's my line?" And he would feed you your line, and you continue. And he was, there all the time with every show. And then once I called Beltran up at home and got his machine, and the answering message was, "Hi, this is Robert. Cos, what's my line? What's my name?" He's even got Cosmo at his house.
Yeah, it was, Kate Mulgrew was absolutely fierce in that role. I cannot tell you, if you go and you're doing a 16-hour day, she's got 6 scenes back to back, probably 3 pages apiece, and wall-to-wall dialogue that she's got with, some technical jargon and things like that, and it's just, she would come in and nail that stuff as if she was reading it. Yeah. And the rest of us are busy trying to...
You know what's really amazing? Is she wasn't paid for that show. She did the whole 7 series for free. No way. Not on salary. She just loved the character so much.
I actually paid them.
You paid
it was
These two really were an amazing pairing. They were like a comedic team. They were very funny together. Just backstage, what were we talking about? You said Ethan was talking about, we're about to start filming on the Voyager movie, and then Tim was like, what? What's your movie? Like, yeah, we're filming next week.
They didn't call you?
They didn't know
We're going to be in Paris and then
you? Brussels and Rome.
And then I get my agent. I get my.
You should get your agent.
As soon as I'm off town, I get my agent.
Just call your agent. I mean, we're leaving next week.
I'm sure it's an oversight. I'm sure you probably
I remember
haven't got it yet.
Probably.
You were on the
busy.
show.
Yeah.
You're busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. I was here and I didn't have the chance to check it. I'm sure it's on the.
Yeah. Or maybe they lost your
It's
ear.
on the voicemail. It's on the email. I'm sure it's on the email.
And so it goes, and so it goes. Give these guys a big hand. They're all questions.
I would like to start by saying that Voyager has been a real inspiration to me and was actually the first Star Trek series I really got into and kind of introduced me to this whole world. And I would like to ask all of you how being on Star Trek has influenced your other projects and your personal life. How have you grown because of it?
It's changed the way I speak. I mean, the whole show, we spout technobabble, we enunciate everything, so now I find that I speak like Ensign Kim in real life at times, and it bothers the heck out of me. It really does. But that's one influence on me. You know, for me, I've been a sci-fi fan my whole life, so being on Star Trek it's like a dream come true for me. Either. Tim.
Changed my life, that's for sure.
From a career standpoint, it made a really significant change for me because it opened up a lot of other doors for different types of work that I was able to get into as a result of being on the show. I could not have been more fortunate to have that opportunity to have done that series for that many years.
It was great for me. I loved it. I really did. And I got to meet a lot of nice people, and it was a privilege to be on a show that has such fantastic stories. So,
I would add that the Voyager cast they all love each other. It's so amazing. When we did the reunion, what was it, last year, the year before?
3 people.
This is a cast that clearly they all love each other, respect each other as professionals, as human beings. It's a beautiful thing to see. So that alone is a gift.
Hi there. So, having been some of the first people who've worked with Brian Fuller, I'm wondering if you have any ideas or insight into what he might be thinking for the new Star Trek, or just having worked with him, you know, what you think he might be bringing to it.
And sir, you look vaguely like Brian Fuller also, I would say, as well. And I
Better than Seth Rogen, so that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Brian is a wonderful guy, a sweetheart, very soft-spoken, very gentle, and very, very smart. He's a wonderful writer, and I think you guys are going to be in for a really very good new series as it comes about. And this has been a long, long time in coming. So I was happy to see that they were going to revive it and bring it back, and I've yet to get a hold of him and talk to him about it, and at least congratulate him and such. And I intend to do that probably next week sometime.
I was with Brian last night, and he told me the entire plot of the new show. And I have it actually on my phone right now. 17 characters. 3 of them are going to be Klingon. It's going to be basically take place in the Beta Quadrant. I don't know. He's a very inventive man. I did Pushing Daisies with him and got to know more on doing Pushing Daisies than I did on
Amazing. Good show.
Brian, he was a young staff writer on Voyager, and he was actually let go. And he was one of my favorite new writers, and when he got let go, I got mad, so I went to the powers that be. I said, why did you let him go? And they said, it was time. I said, what kind of answer is that? And they wouldn't give me a straight answer, and I honestly feel that they were jealous of his talent. I think.
No. I heard they let him go to annoy you.
That makes much more sense then.
No, that's true.
Thank you.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, don't quote me on this, but it was sad to see him go. It really was. But he went on to do Pushing Daisies, Dead Like Me. He did Hannibal. I mean, the guy is he's a genius.
Amazing.
He's a good hand.
Yeah, he's a genius.
My question is for Garrett.
Oh gosh.
We're gonna get deep. Now that you are your older self, if you could send your younger self a message, what would you say?
Wow, that's a reference to Timeless. That's very good. What would I say? I would say to myself, Garrett Wang, saying it to Garrett Wang, not Kim to Kim. I would say, beware of the flatulence that comes from Tuvok and Neelix. There was one day, they were filming in the shuttle, and it was Neelix and somebody else, and Neelix let out some flatulence that was it never had been let out like that before. And the crew members were banging on the doors, they're like, "Go, open, open!" And they opened up, the sound guy, the camera guy, they all tumbled out.
I remember
gasping for air.
For lunch, they had a 3-bean quiche. We had broccoli souffle with duck fat and a cabbage compote. I was not the only one on that set that day who had gas. People had gas, their gas had gas. It was horrible.
So that's one story. Now, about Tuvok, Tim Russ shows up one day and he gets the sound guys to come over to record him releasing this, and it literally was 2.5 minutes long.
The gas giant.
We had some very long days on the set. Long days.
Tim would actually announce on the bridge, he goes, "Okay, tonight I'm going to eat plenty of granola. I'm going to eat so many things that will produce extra gas to all of you."
Next question.
Next question. Thank you.
Hi there. Okay, my question is, what is the most thought-provoking episode that you guys remember from the Voyager days?
Tuvok's. In front of everyone here. The actor that played Tuvok was amazing, Tom Wright. I loved him, so intelligent, he was so talented, and when you left and you came back, I was a little bit bummed that there was you coming back. I love you, but Tuvok was such a great.
He was two people.
He was two people.
Yeah, he's two characters. I'm only one.
I know.
I liked Mel because it was a challenge for me. I got a chance to work with Brad Dourif, and I really admire his work. And pretty heavy-duty piece, you know, and Tuvok gets the chance to go off, and it's all kinds of craziness. So I kind of liked that episode. For me, it was a tremendous challenge, and a chance to get Tuvok out of the box, as it were.
My favorite show for me that was Mortal Coil. I loved it because you know, Neelix dies. He was a character who was very invested in afterlife and eschatology. He had believed that he was going to reunite with his family and everything, and he dies and there's absolutely nothing. And after 18 hours, he's brought back to life, and it depresses him very much to the point where he decides it's not worth living anymore. And Beltran's character, Chakotay, convinces him to stay, even though there is no proof that anything is out there. It is worthwhile to live anyway and do the right thing. And it was a very existential show. And it embraced the concept of uncertainty, because none of us experience safety in life. Safety is a myth. Animals in nature don't have any security, and we don't. We're totally out of control every minute. And the only thing that keeps us together is our loving kindness towards each other. And that show expressed that in a great, great way.
Year of Hell. Okay.
Year of Hell was a good episode. That's yours?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
That was one of my most
Did you know that Tuvok was supposed to lose an arm and a leg, and they changed the script.
Like blind.
Yeah, he was supposed to be blind and one arm and without one leg, and they changed it the last second, the script. So I was joking, I was like, who am I? I was like hopping into like bulkheads and things like that. That was
and by the way, I loved the two-part episode serializations. I just thought that was so great.
Yeah.
I used to love it when you guys did that. I thought that was a great kind of a dramatic construct, the two-episode arcs.
Yeah.
You had the long arc of the whole series. Each episode was fairly much of an anthology, and it could stand on its own. But then you'd have the two-episode serials that were just so great, and just...
Agreed, yeah.
Good days, good times. Yes, sir.
Very good.
Hi there. My question is for Ethan Phillips.
Yes, sir.
I was just wondering what it was like for you to work with Woody Allen.
Oh, it was wonderful. That was one of the most exciting moments of my life, to see my name in the titles in that font that he uses. He was really, really great, and I spent about 12 days with him. And he did not give any directions, like a lot of directors. As an actor, the last thing you want is direction. You hope that they cast you because of who you are, and you want to hear moving on as soon as the scene is done. You don't want to see a director coming over towards you, because then you know, I didn't fulfill his dreams. But he was very quiet and removed from the cast. But he used to eat dinner at my dad's restaurant in Manhattan. My dad owned a steakhouse called Frankie and Johnny's, and Woody was a customer there. And I went up to, I mentioned it to his assistant, and the assistant said, "Oh, you should tell him." I said, "No, I don't want to disturb him." He said, "No, you go ahead, he'd love to hear it." So I said to him out on the set one day, "You used to eat dinner at my dad's place." He said, "Where was that?" I said, "Frankie and Johnny's." He said, "Oh my God, I used to take Diane there all the time. You know, Mort Saul loved the steaks." And he went on, and he had this whole thing remembering that. And then, and we started having a real conversation. Then he plays the clarinet, I'm a saxophone player. And we started talking about music theory and stuff, and I really kind of got to know him, and he's a very generous man. And a lovely guy, I thought. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. Yes, sir.
A question for Tim and Garrett, and another question for Ethan. First, Tim and Garrett. Ethan got resolution with his character, but your characters, you get to Earth and that's pretty much it. Harry never gets promoted. He's still, for all we know, an ensign. Would you like Would you like to see a lot more resolution in Endgame, and perhaps like they got home halfway through and then you got to see how your characters reintegrated into the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody was expecting something like that in the last two episodes of Voyager, and I knew that the writers were, just because of that fact, weren't going to do that. They were going to make a different type of ending for that show, and they focused it on the captain because, you know, we ended up in that part of space because of decisions she made, and so they were going to wrap it up with the same kind of, with a heavy storyline that focused on her and us getting back. And all they did was deal with the first version of us getting back, in which I had this dementia that I was afflicted with. And coming back the second time, I don't have that. So she reverses and changes that whole course of history through time. So, you know, for me, it was fine. We don't know what happened. We can only assume what each character did in their path after coming back and where they went. I'm sure I would have gone back to see my wife and children, my family. I can't imagine he would not have. And I don't know whether he would have stayed in Starfleet or not. Maybe he would have retired. Maybe he would have done something else. I would speculate that he went home.
My standard response is when people ask, "Oh, what's Kim doing now?" I said, "Oh, that's easy. He never got promoted, so he got really pissed off. He quit Starfleet. He opened up a bar and grill in San Francisco called Admiral Kim's." Admiral Kim's Place. I think that sounds better. McKim's. Yes. The Irish Korean bar. McKim's.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming back again, as such, and Voyager, and I'm in Voyager Red, of course, as Garrett requested. Tim, I have a question for you. In the Year of Hell course, your character being blinded. I'd like to know, from your perspective as an actor, what's the challenge it takes to portray someone being blind?
Well, I actually had to do a little bit of research on that, and the first thing I learned was that, you know, if you're, we've always seen the sort of characters that are walking around like this, if you're to feel where you're going, well, you don't, it's not up here you have to worry about, it's down here that you have to worry about. It's the lower extremities you have to worry about bumping into things, so your hands should be down here when you're walking, not so much like this. And that's one of the first things I just learned about the physicality of it, and playing that that character not looking at the other actor and having to keep your eyes sort of off them, which is very tricky because the natural inclination is to look right at them. So you had to constantly think about that when you're playing the scene. That was the hardest thing, the trickiest thing to do. And that's the first time I've ever played a character that was blind. So it was an interesting experience. I thought it was very cool when they told me I was going to be doing that. I sort of did a little homework and and wanted to make it look as real as possible, just in the way you move it, because you're uncertain as to where your feet are, what's in front of you, and the ship was a wreck, and the ship was completely torn to pieces, so there could have been anything laying around, so we played all that, and it worked out pretty well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. We've got time for two more, I think.
Considering the controversy involving the prelude to acts in our films, I was wondering, and considering that all three of you, I think, has been in some capacity involved in the fan film community, what exactly are your opinions regarding the new regulations that Paramount has?
We're going to pass on that question because there's a lot of controversy and discussion regarding it and a lot of confusion. We're not really in a position to be able to have an appropriate discussion about it in this forum, so if you wouldn't mind, we're gonna pass on that question. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Not that we have an opinion in either direction, because we don't, but just that this isn't the right forum for it, so forgive us for that. Okay, yep, we'll take over there, yep. Is that it? Well, that's kind of good timing, because we're out of time anyway, but I have to say, you guys are pretty damn entertaining.
Thank you.